Hello, wrestling family. Welcome to Sound the Whistle with IHSA wrestling official Tony Clarke. Each week, I will bring you interviews with prominent figures in the sport of high school wrestling.
Welcome to Sound the Whistle with Tony Clarke. On this episode, Tony himself is back to chat with us. I again get to steal the mic from him and play the host, and get to talk to him a little bit about a signing. So welcome, Tony.
Well, thank you, Season. Thanks for doing this again for me. Some of the topics that we're going to talk about.
I like it. I might just hijack your show. I may take over, never let you come back. I'll be the new Tony Clarke.
And I think there's a lot of people out there that would probably appreciate hearing from you more, though, than listening to my gruff voice. So.
No way. You have such a soothing voice. It makes me so happy just listening to you talk. So that's why this is so much fun for me. So we're going to talk about a signing this time. Another one of the many hats that you wear. Let's just start with a very simple basic. What's a day in the life of an assigner like?
That's a interesting question. Assigning wrestling, because I've never assigned any other sport, so this is the only one that I know. But assigning wrestling is very unique. Sometimes it's very frustrating. A lot of times it's very fulfilling. It's all about your approach as an assigner. So with wrestling, we have a unique dynamic. I work with a bunch of assigners who are very like-minded. John Schaus, Ray Weinsberg, Gene Lee, John and Jeff Nudera, Tony Lombardo, Nate Kesson, just to name a few. And there's a young assigner down in the southern part of the state, Shay Brodus, who's helping out down there to help them, and Blake Oren, who they're trying to help their part of the state get brought up on the assigning process. We all use, or the majority of us use, a program called Arbiter, which links us with officials across the whole state, which makes our job easier to communicate, but it makes it difficult in other aspects. For years, we've been using digitized assigning, and we only know a lot of people via email. We don't know what they look like. We don't know what they sound like. When I first started, assigning was done via telephone and not the mobile phones that you have grown up with. I'm talking about the old rotary dial where you dial the number and you had to wait for the dial to come back before you can dial the other number. It was done with paper and pen, pencil, put a stamp on the envelope and mail it back to your assigner, the contract. Yeah, I mean, I want to say we didn't even have fax machines in the beginning. We didn't have computers. That was definite. I don't even think we had the fax machine capability. Everything was done what you would know as snail mail today.
Yeah.
There wasn't
so how long
internet.
did it take you to assign back then?
It was a much more difficult process because but again, you got a commitment over the phone. With the person, and then you followed up that commitment with the written piece of paper that they had to sign, and then you had to maintain those files that they agreed to do something, and you got to hope that they wrote it in the calendar. And,
oh my gosh!
It was a challenge, but that's how things were done, and it's evolved to where now everything's digital in the assigning process. So. I'm not going to totally speak for my fellow assigners, but I think if we didn't have fun doing what we do, we wouldn't continue to assign year after year. Some of us get paid better than others. I won't throw my friend Ray Weinsberg under the bus, but some of us, we do it. Ray does it for the love of, but there's a little small monetary reward at the end. But I think the biggest reward is knowing that you help somebody. Mm-hmm. Again, as an assigner, just like an official, we're in service. We're in service to the schools who contract us. And that goes deeper. We're serving those wrestlers. We're serving those coaches. And again, we're serving those fans to find them the best referee, official possible to call that match or tournament.
Mm-hmm. And when you don't, that's on you guys, and you guys have let them down. So
that's the perception. Again, just like officiating, we're only as good as our weakest link. The official is an extension of what we do. It's that symbiotic relationship. We need those officials in order for the assigning process to work. And we do what we can. Do we always get it right? No. Do we always give the person the right assignment? No. I think one of the biggest things we're learning as assigners is we have to understand what motivates the official. Some officials just want to do it for fun. They're not looking for high stress contests or anything like that. They just want to be out there and give back. And you have to know that so you don't put them in a situation they don't want to be in. Then there's the official who's looking to move up to the state level. So you have to know that. So you give them an assignment that's going to prepare them for being on the state floor. And that's probably one of the most frustrating parts of the assigner's job is to get that part right. We don't want to put someone in a situation where they're in over their heads because, and I forget who told me this years and years ago, it's when you make a mistake or you give a bad impression, it's hard to overcome that. And it takes a lot of doing things right before you can erase that one bad memory. So if we put an official out there too soon who's not ready to call that match, people are going to always remember the last thing you did that wasn't good.
Right.
They don't remember the last good thing you did. They remember the last bad thing you did. And if you had an off night or you weren't ready, that's going to stick with them. And it's going to take a lot of years to overcome that if we let that happen to someone. So that's pretty important for the assigners to have to deal with, because wrestling officials they don't it's hard to get them to stick around.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A lot of them they thought they had thick skin. They found out the first time they get yelled at they didn't have thick skin, because we're not allowed to yell back. We I think the Obamas, tried to coin the phrase, you take the low road and we'll take the high road. Officials have to take the high road at all times. We have to be professional at all times. So no matter what the heat, we have to rise above it. So that's hard. People don't come back because of that. Some people, they feel that, they're ready today to call a state tournament. But the process that they have to go through, they want to fast track it. And in this state, we have what we call a rating system that determines if you're going to get that call or not. And a lot of them don't want to wait for the rating system because they don't believe in it. They think we as assigners can just, wave that magic wand and they're on the state floor the next day. It doesn't work that way. That's a misconception. We can help you get there with good assignments that get you the ratings, but all we can do is put you in the building. You have to perform once we put you in the building. A lot of people don't know this about me. I played the violin as a kid.
What?
Yes. So just because the instructor gave me the violin doesn't mean music was coming out of it. I was going to have to practice just to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And I realized as a kid, this ain't happening. I don't have this type of dedication to this violin. But I thought, man, you're going to give me that violin and I'm going to be, in somebody's concert. It's just, and that's the same thing with officiating. Just because you buy a whistle, some wristbands, and the uniform, on paper you're an official, but you have to practice to make yourself wanted by the masses to be on that state floor. So that's a part of the assigning job that we have to help the officials realize and balance. There's only 36 officials out of 500 signed up. in the sport of wrestling, they're going to work the state tournament.
Wow.
So the criteria is very steep, and we will do our part to get them there. But we need them to, also be patient and do their part and hone their skills so they're noticed to get there. So that was a roundabout way of saying how much I love assigning.
But talking about this and those officials that do want to get to the state level, what are some things that they can do to get a schedule that will advance them to that next level?
Talk to your assigner. Like I said, we have a lot of assigners under our umbrella of arbiter, and each of us is open-minded and willing to help that person that has those goals. But it goes back to being able to accept criticism. As assigners, each of us hear about performances. How well an official did, how bad an official did. We don't always share that information because not everybody's willing to hear that information. Okay. Some officials have gone into a building and walked out and thought, man, that was the best match I've ever called in my life, and not even realizing that assigner's phone is just blowing up. Please don't send this person back here ever again. So it sometimes it's perception. But if people want to move up, they have to be willing to hear the criticism, both positive and negative. I mean, I forgot some course I took years ago in my training life that anytime you have to deliver negative news, you should end it with positive news. Yeah. And that is true, but it's hard to get wrestling officials sometimes to hear the negative news before you can get to the positive news. Because we're very, you can't be a good official if you're not arrogant. You have to have some level of arrogance. Because you have to have that confidence. You have to be arrogant enough to have the confidence to say, I got this. I can do this. I'm going to get this right. But then you have to be humble enough when you don't get it right and someone of experience comes along and says, wow, you really didn't do a good job with that call. Be it a coach or be it another official or just a fan. There's some very knowledgeable fans out there. You have to put your ego aside and be able to hear them in order to move up. So again, you have to talk to your assigner, listen to what your assigner has to say. We as assigners, we try to be as honest as possible. We try not to be that blunt force instrument that's going to hurt someone's feelings and chase them out of the sport. But I probably thought more of myself in my first 15 years than I probably should have. Okay. As I've gotten older, I've learned that humility, and it ain't about me. It's I try to get most of my calls right, and I think I do come pretty close, or I probably wouldn't have achieved what I have achieved. But that's the first thing I had to learn. It is not about me. This sport was here before I got here, and it's gonna still be here when I leave. So that you have to put to the side. I have to put that ego that makes me a good ref. I also have to put that ego back in check so I can hear what others have to say. So that's the biggest thing. If someone wants to move up, they have to come to the assigner and be willing to hear what the assigner has to say.
Is there any training on that? I mean, we've talked in previous podcast episodes about sort of the training that goes into the rules, the regulations. Is there any type of training for these officials on how to do what you were just talking about? How to keep their egos in check, how to deal with, how to grow a thick skin, how to keep calm in frustrating situations?
We have, as clinicians, instituted or added to our training program that officials are required to take once every 3 years, and those officials that aspire to climb take it every year. We've put things in there. We try to give them confidence and rule knowledge. We have a section or module called conflict resolution to try to teach them those coping skills. Now, it's hard to teach someone in 30 minutes in a module like that all the skills they're going to need on the wrestling mat. It's very hard. Wrestling is a profession that you learn baptism by fire. You have to get in the fire to know what you're made of, and want to come back the next day and want to get better and find that mentor or find that person who can help guide you. Sometimes it's an assigner. Sometimes the assigner can put you with another official who's willing to mentor you and help bring you along. So yes, there is. We have something to help them. But the School of Hard Knocks, the just being out there on the mat is the best teacher, unfortunately.
Yeah, they have to do the work themselves. They have to figure this out.
and it's very hard when you're dealing with such an aggressive sport.
Okay.
To just like the wrestlers, they enter the arena alone. They win alone. I mean, there's a team that helps prepare them, and just the same for the official. There's going to be a team behind them, but when they enter that arena with the two contestants, they're alone. Yeah.
And can you think of, just off the top of your head, it's been a little bit since I think you've been on the mat as an actual official, but I mean, what are some of these mechanisms you used in situations that you've had to find yourself calming yourself down, not getting aggressive back when people come at you? I mean, what are some things you've learned over time to help you better prepared for those situations?
Maturity for me, because wrestling is aggressive, like I've stated, and sometimes, we're taught as wrestlers, when someone leans into you with too much force, that's the time to hit them with a throw and put them on their back, because they've charged too far forward. So someone who comes at you aggressive, just human nature, we have to fight the urge to throw them. In lack of a better term, we have to find a posture within ourselves that's going to diffuse the situations. And I didn't learn that lesson early on. I was one of those people. If you challenge me, you better be right. You better be at the table with the rule book to show me where I'm wrong. And you can show me where I was wrong. I wasn't so egotistical or stubborn that I couldn't change my call. But I was tough on coaches that just came over there and had no basis for why I should change something. So it was rough for me coming up doing that. So we have to find it within ourselves, because, like I said, we throw a lot of techniques out there. We've even done a podcast. I think one of your first podcasts was, you remember the title?
We did. It was all about, oh gosh, he's going to be so mad at me now for not remembering the title of it. But it was meditation. I mean, it was mindful meditation. And, this specific topic. Finding a way to center yourself, because as he was making a great point, the person that was talking to us about mindful meditation, that people forget about the mind. You train your muscles, but you don't really train your brain. And that's what it is. You have to train your brain to react differently. And I mean, to me, it's the simplest rule ever. Like what probably your mom, your grandma always taught you. You attract more bees with honey.
Yes.
It's so simple.
And
I tell people that all the time.
And that's it in a nutshell. Based on that whole, it was a long podcast, but I think those that took the time to listen to it should have walked away with, you have to train your mind. And that's what I've learned in my career, especially on the back end. I still go out there to do a good job, but I'm not in that hard charger. I have to be better than you so I can step over you and get to the state tournament. I've achieved that goal, so I do a good job. I give my best out there, but when someone wants to come and challenge a call, I've learned to use my mind and not my aggressiveness, my emotion, and I'll hear them out. I'll say something funny, or I may sometimes just answer their question with a question. I mean, somebody will come over and says, well, you didn't make the right call. I said, well, if you could use the rule book you brought with you to the table, maybe we can look up this rule together. And that freezes a lot of people because most coaches don't come to the table with the rule book. So when you say, well, okay, maybe I did mess up, but let's use your rule book to find out where I went wrong. And that's a learned skill. That's not something we teach. You have to have the confidence to be able to do that, because what if they do have a rule book? You better be able to find the page. So it's just little bit things like that. Experience just teaches you that. How to handle those situations. So I think the whole mindful meditation had some merit. It had a lot of merit if people listened to it and tried to look and apply it. Because the same techniques that you apply during your daily life work on the mat. When you have someone who's coming at you aggressively saying, boy, you really screwed that up. Most people can't hear that criticism. What do you mean I screwed that up? That was the best call I've made all day. Well, yeah, sometimes we have to step back. And the thing that we have today that I didn't have to deal with, and a lot of the old timers didn't have to deal with, we didn't have social media. We didn't have people with cell phones. There's a camera.
Everything.
And video is the most sobering on your performance that there is. I mean, to watch somebody show you a video of yourself making a call, and you have to look at it and says, ooh, that's not the right call. That's sobering. That is really sobering. And that humbles you as a person. And you have to be able to accept that you just been humbled on social media, making a call that nobody understood. And a lot of times the video will vindicate you. And I love the video that vindicates me when somebody brings me some video. I had that happen to me one time, maybe 5-6 years ago. I was in a varsity event, and I made some calls, and they changed the outcome of the match. And the coach, like, oh man, that's Tony, that was just wrong. You messed that up. And I said, well, I think I got it right, but I know you're gonna go look at your own video camera, and I know you'll come back to me later when there's a break in the action. Well, he came back with that video camera, and he said, Tony, I have to apologize. You did it right, and here's the video if you want to see it. I said, of course, I always want to see some video of me getting it right. So that is really hard for up and coming officials to have to live with, because everybody's got a camera. There's always a camera pointed at you somewhere, and it's hard to escape that. So it's a lot to bear, knowing that somebody's going to post your mistakes on social media.
And that's a good reminder of back to the way you behave and the way you respond. You want to respond in a respectable way that no matter what video is taken of you, it's going to portray you in the best light.
Yes, you're going to be an honor to the profession. You're going to, turn the other cheek. And some people look at it, like I said earlier, you have to, when they take the low road, you have to take the high road. And you do not want to be on video taking the road lower than well poop, because it don't get no lower than that.
And so you were saying, your daily life practices with mindful meditation or all these other different options helps you on the mat, but in reverse, everything that you're doing and projecting on the mat helps you in your daily life too. You can take these lessons into the way you handle pretty much any situation and become a better person out of it. Oh yeah,
the conflict resolution that I know, the training. I mean, I have, let's just say, and he can't do anything about this podcast because it's mine and yours. There's a gentleman out there, Ray Weinsberg, who is very difficult sometimes, and you've had to practice conflict resolution. I practice it, and we get along just fine. So I had to learn that skill because Ray and I grew up together as referees. I mean, we really did, and to this day, I mean, he's what is our nickname for him? Grumpy Gus, and there's other nicknames out there for him, but Grumpy Gus is an affectionate one. And so, yeah, I mean, just, the skills we learn out there, we do carry. And, back to the assigning world, that is very important, how we deal with the referees who get frustrated with us because they're not getting the assignments. How we deal with them is no different than how we have to deal with an irate coach or an irate parent or a wrestler that feels they've been cheated because an official who has goals and they don't think the assigner has helped them with those goals, there's some conflict there. And like I said earlier, we have to understand the motivation of the official who is working for us as the assigner, and we have to be willing to explain ourselves to that official why they are getting that perception that the assigner is not really there to help them further their goals. So it's tough. It's a rewarding profession to be an assigner, but it's frustrating also when you're not able to help that person achieve their goals. We can't get everybody to the mountaintop. It's like I said earlier. Sometimes they have to. We can get them in the building. We can get them in the door, and they have to take it from there. But it's easier sometimes just to say, "Well, you gave me the wrong assignment. I shouldn't have been there," or you didn't give me a schedule that's going to enhance who I am. And a lot of people that came up around my era, there was no cushioning assigning. You went where you were told to go, be it good or bad. It wasn't you because we were taught baptism by fire. I had to be in those tough situations with people yelling at me, and I had to be able to think on my feet and those things because that just made me get better. That gave me the drive and the motivation as an official to say, you know what, I had a rough night tonight. I wasn't on my game with my rules. I'm going home. I'm going to study my rule book. So next time I'm in this situation, I'll be able to tell them, no, I called it based on this, this, and this. And they take a step back and says, yeah, you did it right. Because again, we didn't have video back there to vindicate me. I had to vindicate that I got the call right with my wit, with my verbal communication skills. And that's very important for an official who wants to move up. Communication skills. I think that's a lost art because
absolutely
what people put on social media sometimes has no filter. It has no, it's just like they just post their thought. It is not even a complete thought. It's one of those voices in the back of your head that you shouldn't share with the rest of the world. So people they've lost the ability to communicate properly, in my mind. We don't communicate properly anymore. We don't do, because we don't sit face to face with people.
That's what it is. And they've lost the art of being able to have full thoughts. I've seen so many people that can text and send messages that are witty and personable, and then in real life you meet that person and they can't hold a conversation. They can't connect. That is absolutely a lost art.
Yes, and it's hard when a person with that, if I can't communicate as an assigner, you can't communicate as an official to what you want, we don't get anywhere. Then that's where frustrations are built up. We have to be able to just sit and talk with each other. I mean, write a good email. That's a lost art. Just the process of writing a good email, because again, people are just so used to, what do you call it, tweeting? The Twitter thing and the Instagram, and what are you limited to so many words on Instagram? They're used to talking in code,
and
like
slang and no more punctuations and
terrible.
So frustrating.
I thought for years on social media, LOL meant lots of love. I didn't know it was laughing out loud.
I don't even really know what it means now. I think there's so many meetings for it. I don't know what it means.
You got to be able to speak the language in order to keep up, and I was behind the times. I mean, so that's important, communication. If we can't communicate, there's always going to be a misconception or a frustration between people. A lot of people look at it as us as assigners, like, well, you know what I want. Okay, then I'm going to give you what I think you want, and it doesn't always work out that way.
So you have a new skill as a mind reader that I didn't know about?
I can read minds. I have a crystal ball that tells me this person's going to have a good day if I put them there. So that's one of the hard parts of being an assigner. And we aren't always the best communicators because we are so busy. The assigning is not our full-time job. We have jobs outside of that. We have families outside of that. We have a lot of commitments that require our attention. And it's hard. I mean, we have to balance all of that. And, we're under a lot of pressure. One of the worst parts of being an assigner, our schedule changes. Here we think, boy, you got it. You've had this assignment for months. It's good to go. School gives us a day's notice, same day notice. Yeah. Oh, things have changed. It's like, really? Wow, now what am I going to do? We have a shortage of officials, and that's very frustrating. Not having enough officials to try to cover everything that there's out there to cover. And with this next season coming up, while trying to do all these things through the pandemic, we don't know how many officials we're going to have. We don't know how many contests we're going to have. So if we do have a season, the assigners are going to really be in a world of hurt, looking for bodies to cover these meets, because I have a bad feeling they're not going to be there. A lot of people are going to make some hard decisions on their safety, their well-being, and I don't fault people for that. We've been doing it since March. You have to decide, do you go into that restaurant? Do you go into that grocery store? Do you go to that concert? There's a lot of things you have to decide in your daily life. So why would that be any different in wrestling? You have to decide you want to go into that crowd of people and serve and hopefully come out healthy. So I think a lot of officials are going to have to take a good hard look at what's important to them, because this is every time we think that we're going in the right direction with this pandemic, we end up taking steps back.
We do. I just read a story about there are these. Did you know this was a thing? There are these the COVID parties.
Yes, I read it this morning.
Yes,
I did not know it. Yes,
the COVID parties. I hadn't heard of this. I probably can't say anything nice. Don't say anything at all. So I'm going to bite my tongue on a lot of this, because there are these people out there that think this is a myth, that think it's not serious, think it's no big deal, and it's being overplayed. And so they're finding people that have tested positive for COVID and throwing parties, and that person that has COVID is spitting in all of their drinks, passing it around to everybody to make their point that it's no big deal. This is not an issue. And a young man, I don't remember how old he was. Do you remember? He died. He passed away, and I guess his last words to the nurse was like, "Oh, I guess I was wrong. This is a big deal."
Yes.
Does it really take that to have to figure this out?
Yes. I unfortunately, yes, because this is a different society. I mean, you grew up with certain things in your life that people in my generation, we didn't have all these things. So the COVID party,
come on, people. It seems like common sense.
Yeah,
let's be smarter than this.
I don't. It's unfortunate. It is. It's very unfortunate. But people have to decide to do what they think is right in their day. That's the. A lot of people died in this country for us to have that freedom to do what others consider to be good things and bad things. It's our right to do stupid stuff sometimes. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's we should be better, and it goes back to the point. I don't know how many officials are going to not want to attend the COVID party. I mean, we just don't know right now. So we will see how this things play out. It really will.
So let's get super real for a second here. You had mentioned that now this is a little bit cushier for officials sort of than it ever has been. Do you think that is having more of a positive or a negative impact? So you said back in the day it was very different. It's gotten a lot easier for them.
I sometimes wish I had all the technology available to me back in the 80s and the early 90s that we do today. But I don't know what that impact would have been. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have been around how I was brought up and then watch how the next wave of official comes along. I think they're more knowledgeable, faster, because of the techniques and the media when I say media, the videos and the recordings and things like that, we had to do everything word of mouth. You know, it was almost like we lived in the Flintstone era, sitting there with a chisel and a slate of granite and had to type everything out. So I think the ability to teach is better. But like I said earlier, I think the one thing that's been lost with all this technology is the one-on-one ability to communicate properly with one another. And I think that's the trade-off. You know, instantly somebody can post a video and you can learn what you did wrong. But wouldn't it be just as nice to sit with a group of like-minded people and talk about that video of what you did wrong and what you could have done better? So I think the positives and the negatives don't always show up on social media to, hey, you made a mistake, but here's how you could have corrected the mistake. We're so quick to point out a mistake without the fix it that should have went with that, to say, hey, here's what this is what you did, but here's how you could have fixed it. Because, you know, everybody migrates to the blooper reel. You know, that's because I notice that now on social media a lot of times. People will post their blooper reel because people get a kick out of knowing that, oh, you messed up, haha, that's so funny. And we post that. We post our mistakes, especially on YouTube. What they call creators, a lot of them will show their blooper reel. There's TV shows, America's Funniest Video. Those are blooper reels. Yeah. Everybody wants to see the behind-the-scenes blooper reel of you making a mistake. And to me, that's like the last thing. It's at the end of your clip, or it's at the end of your story. Do they forget all the things you did right up until the blooper?
That's a good point.
So, I don't know. Where time will tell what is the best method of getting better.
Well, so back to assigning itself. When you are looking to assign refs to different tournaments and matches, what do you look for specifically in those refs that you're assigning?
I look for someone who is coming in and has a goal, has a plan. It doesn't have to be a goal to get to the state tournament. It may be a goal, I just want to give back. So they express a goal, where they want to be, what they're expecting out of this. Some people it's just a financial thing. It's a part-time job. But at least they've expressed that goal, because that goal helps the assigner to figure out where they fit in this assigning puzzle that we have to deal with. So have a goal. Be dedicated. Be dedicated to what you're choosing to do. Once you get an assignment, people are counting on you to show up and do the best you can. It may not be the perfect job, but they're expecting you to show up and do the best you can. But you have to be dedicated to show up. Even if you had a bad night the night before, you've made a commitment to the assigner. And when you make that commitment to the assigner, you've made it to the school. And when you've made that to the school, you've made it to the wrestlers and the fans and the coaches also. So it's a domino effect. So you have to be committed to get out there and take the good with the bad. I mean, that's hard in today's world. Nobody wants to be criticized. I get it. Nobody wants to be on social media showing that you did it wrong. I get it. But you got to stay committed to what you've agreed to. Your word has to mean something. You've given your word that you're going to take this contest, and you have to stick to that. And you have to have the ability to have fun. You have to. So you have to be open-minded, because once you're open-minded, you'll take the job serious, but you won't take yourself more serious. You won't let yourself rise above what it is you're out there to do. So those are qualities that we look for. There's a lot of referees. Mike Bondi comes to mind. His claim to fame, him and Deion Wiley, they both have a claim to fame of, no matter what's going on out there, they find a reason to smile.
Aww.
And sometimes that is it's used as a diffusing mechanism. But a lot of people just see it, wow, they're having fun. You know, the official that can laugh and joke with the athlete on the mat. Because these athletes say a lot of funny things sometimes. Or they'll have just a thought that, that's humorous. You as an official have to be able to show them you're human. Mm-hmm. You can laugh and joke with them, but you can also be serious and get the job done. There's a guy that's very good at this. It's Mike Kirkus. As he's working a weigh-in, he's pranking kids. He's telling funny stories. He's asking humorous questions. And he's not doing it to be a wise guy or anything. He's doing it to market our profession. Hey, man, this official, man, he's back there joking with me and talking to me like we're friends or something, Yeah. But he has that ability to do that, and that gets kids' attention, wrestlers' attention, because at the end of the day, at our level, we're still dealing with children. And they need to see us as authority, but authority that can listen to them, or at least, and that carries a lot for an official to have that ability to bring the human aspect to what they do on the mat. So we look for that too. You don't have to be a prankster, but you have to have a personality, and I guess personality is not the right word. You have to have empathy for that wrestler. So if you've wrestled yourself, you know what they're going through. They've cut weight, they're hungry, they're grouchy, they're irritable, and they don't know you from Adam. But if you can help them get through it, then that's a skill set that's hard to teach. So we look for that in people, because a lot of assigners, we watch the people we hire. We watch them work. And those are the things I know when I'm watching the officials I've hired. Those are the qualities I'm trying to see if they display. Are they out there just robotic and nothing is coming of it. Everything they do is just methodical, but they have no human empathy. They have nothing to make people understand. Man, that guy's having fun out there on the mat. I want to be a referee too, because they're having fun doing what they do. Because that's a marketing tool. That's how we market ourselves. We're not the glamorous sport, wrestling, where everybody wants to be a referee. That ain't happening. I mean, there's enough on social media that says that ref did a bad job, but I don't want to be him. So those are important aspects. If you want to be good and get the assigner's attention, you have to have all those little qualities that I've mentioned.
That's good advice. So I was going to ask you, what advice do you have to officials that want to get your attention, but you answered it. I mean, that's it. Those kind of people, you notice, you guys are watching. Maybe that's a good thing to let all these referees know in case they didn't pay attention. You guys are watching.
We are watching, and we have eyes and ears everywhere. Just because one of us can't be where you are doesn't mean that we don't have an official or a coach or a fan that knows us that's not going to say, hey, Tony, man, that official you had over at school ABC did an outstanding job. You need to get that guy more work. Word of mouth is very important in what we do, because if you had a bad day, of course, that's coming back to us quick before you even leave the building. But if you have a good day, we're going to hear about that just as equally as fast, because there's a lot of people out there that respect what we do, and they will pass on, hey, this person did a good job. This is somebody you want to keep promoting and doing things. So yes, we see and hear a lot more than people realize as assigners.
Okay. Well, I don't envy you. The job as an assigner is tough work, but you guys do it so well. Is there anything else you want to say on the topic of assigning?
Again, I'm just going to, cap it off with communicate with your assigner. Be patient with your assigner. Be realistic with yourself. Are you ready? Are you capable of the assignments that you're asking for? And that's hard, to look in that mirror and criticize yourself and say, I think I'm ready. No, the assigner needs to know you're ready. You have to have that type of confidence. And if they can just come up with those couple of things and honestly say, I'm ready to hear the criticism, I'm ready to get better, or I've heard everything that you've had to say, and I'm give me that assignment, then 9 times out of 10 you'll get what you're looking for.
That's good to know. If you guys have any more questions on assigning or any other topics, make sure you put those in the comments. We will try to address all of them. If there are topics you guys want to know more about, that you want to hear from Tony or you want to hear from an expert in the field, make sure to stick those in the comments below. And Tony, thanks for another awesome episode.
Well, thank you once again for taking the time out of your, if we didn't have the pandemic, it would be an extremely busy day. And that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast, because we knew we had time and others needed something to kill the time. So, again, thank you for doing what you do. And, hopefully pretty soon this will pay off and we will get to watch your social media.
Ooh.
And watch you grow into that next level. It won't be in wrestling, but it'll be in something.
I know, spoiler alert for those listening, there may possibly be another podcast coming soon. We'll see. So everyone stay tuned. But you guys make sure you keep following Tony Clarke and listening to Sound the Whistle with Tony Clarke. Check into the next episode soon.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Be sure and follow me on Instagram, IL Wrestling Ref, or you can follow me on Twitter at Assigner Guy, ASSIGNRGUI, to be notified of new podcast episodes. Thank you and have a great day.